not to face Maria, but face out here. It's actually our audience too. So, quick glance at Maria is fine, but when you're answering questions, you're all close with the microphone, I'm sure. So, now at this distance.
You still want us to sing all of our answers?
Yes.
We've been practicing and use it. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. This is the one. There's a dance also. There's also a dance.
That's the one we submit for the awards.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. Okay, so funny. I hate colors so much. I just hate
Okay.
What's that?
You knew I was clumsy?
I want to keep you safe. You're all good?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you a cue in just a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to be right over there.
Thanks. Where's the... Okay. That's good.
To the back of the room.
I see it now. That's what happens when you don't wear your glasses. Okay. Perfect. I'm excited. Everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Columbus Metropolitan Club, founded in 1976 by 13 women visionary leaders. The CMC's mission is to connect people and ideas through community conversation. To carry out this mission, CMC explores public policy issues, current events, and lessons in leadership at forums just like this one, this very special one. We do this every week. From its beginning, CMC has welcomed everyone. Well, my name is Tony Bell. I'm the president and CEO of Phoenix Consulting Company and recent grad from Harvard University. I love that because I watched Suits recently and I was like, ooh, yay. I'm also proud to serve as a board member of the CMC. It's a great experience, and if anybody's interested, we'd love to talk to you. I'm so pleased that you're with us today for this very, very special, fashionable forum for our annual Carol A. McGuire Legacy and Civic Engagement Fund Forum celebrating arts and culture. Yeah, it's so much better than politics all the time. Not that we do it that way, I'm just saying I needed a break. It's also the second from our very new venue. Don't you love the space? Oh my God. For those of you joining us by live stream, we're coming to you today from our beautiful new home in Columbus's Italian village, the Ellis. Welcome, all of you. Let's begin by welcoming our newest members. I want you to, after I read the names, give your raving applause, go crazy like it's a graduation with no rules. Are you ready? Bill Behrens with Berco. Matt Keys with G2G Consulting. Do I need to be more exciting for you to start clapping? Aaron Klein with OSU Arts Sciences Career Center, who should be in the audience. Is Aaron here? Aaron's over there. Everybody turn around and go, woo! All right, Selena Lowry and Michael Meyer with Paul Worth Associates, Carol Missick, and Stephanie Stein with Stephanie Stein Management. Be sure to welcome and network with all of these new members. This is a great place to be. And welcome to the CMC. If you are not already a member, please stand up. Okay, audience, look at these amazing people. It's kind of clustered in a little half moon this way. Remember their faces. Be seated. Thank you. Give them a round of applause. And let's encourage them to join CMC. It's open to everyone. So what does it take to become a member of CMC? Well, you don't need to be rich, But if you are, we like that too. You don't have to be well connected. You don't even have to be a Harvard grad, but you just need to visit the Columbus Metropolitan Club and sign up. In all seriousness, please do speak to a member of the CMC. I'm a CMC member, or you can speak to the staff because they tend to know a lot more than regular members do. So they'll be happy to help you become a CMC new member. You can scan the QR codes at your tables, and you'll also see many generous organizations that support your not-for-profit Columbus Metropolitan Club. And you know what? We could not exist without you, so we're glad to have you. Speaking of supporters, we'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Carol A. McGuire Legacy and Civic Engagement Fund, celebrating arts and culture. And thank you to our wonderful forum sponsors, the Ellis, Live, and King Business Interiors. Let's do that one more time. You can do a round of applause. The Ellis, Live, and King Business Interiors. We're also grateful to the Center for Human Kindness at the Columbus Foundation and the Columbus Dispatch for presenting our live stream, which is being carried on our social media platforms. That's right. If you have your phones out, you should be on our streams. And let's thank everybody for supporting today's forum. Big round of applause. So, did you know, and I was hoping you'd all go, know what? Thank you. You should be members. This is great. So did you know that Columbus has the third largest concentration of fashion designers in the country? Yes, woohoo! And that's right, your town and mine, Columbus. In fact, this year, the website livability.com called Columbus a surprising hub of the fashion industry. But we have to tell the rest of the world, don't be surprised. It's really us. We have more than cows and corn. You're welcome. But it's no surprise at all that in the industry, especially for the thousands of creative people, and maybe soon to be hundreds of thousands, right? Because Columbus is growing. Everybody's a creative in some way. But, you know, we've got a whole bunch of creative people to help us be behind the fashion giants that call Central Ohio home, mi casa, including Justice, Express, Abercrombie & Fitch, DSW, L Brands, Victoria's Secret, and although I think by now we know the secret, and other global leaders that pump millions of dollars into Ohio's economy. So just ahead of Fashion Week Columbus, we are thrilled. So this is like my opportunity to I wanted to show off for these ladies. But anyway, we wanted to make sure that you knew about Columbus, Ohio as a style leader. So it is my great pleasure and honor, drum roll, to introduce, for you to do the drum roll. Go ahead, keep doing it. Longtime CNC supporter, Dr. Melanie Korn, president of the Columbus College of Art and Design. Yay! Catherine DePizzo, president of Justice Design Lab. And Lubna Najjar, founder of Moda Brand Development and Her Denim, and president of Columbus Fashion Council, and all things great. And our host, marketing strategy, Maria Seguin, who's also a member of the Columbus Fashion Council Board and member of the OSU Fashion and Retail Studies Advisory Board. These people don't sleep. Why? Because they're not only do they cut, they market, they do social media, they do everything. You can read more about today's panelists, and you can talk with them after the forum by scanning the QR codes at your table. Maria, we look forward to you hosting today's conversation. Let's do it. Yay. And I need to get the leather memo. Way to go.
Thanks, Tony. Speaking of fashion in Columbus, can I just say what a great looking group we have here today? I'm so impressed. Please give yourselves a round of applause. 1 for showing up, 2 for looking fabulous, and 3 for joining us for today's forum around influence in Columbus fashion. As Tony mentioned, Fashion Week Columbus is coming right around the corner, you guys. It starts this Sunday. So, with a raise of hands, how many of you have heard of Fashion Week Columbus before today? Ooh, okay. Keep your hands up. Of those people that have heard of Fashion Week Columbus, how many of you have either purchased a ticket or are thinking about purchasing a ticket? Oh, okay. For those of you who have not purchased a ticket or have not raised your hands, I want you to do me a big favor before we get started. I want you guys to pull out your phone, a piece of paper, a notebook, something to take a note with. You ready? Okay. I want you to write down fashionweekcolumbus.org. Again, that is fashionweekcolumbus.org. And underneath that, I want you to write, I will buy tickets or else. Everyone got that? Perfect. Okay, great. Now, before I jump into my first question with our amazing panel we have here today, I wanted to first point out this folder. Yes, it was holding my notes, but this is actually a letter of recognition from the Ohio Representatives, House of Representatives, that was presented to the Columbus Fashion Council recently by House Representative Dontavius Jarrells. This was awarded to the CFC for our commitment, I'm on the board, so our commitment to enhancing the quality of life of Columbus community through fashion. Now, before we get started, I just really wanted to reiterate that, a lot of the fashion and retail organizations, such as the Columbus Fashion Council, the Columbus Fashion Alliance, and institutions like CCAD have really been making huge, huge strides to change our community, to grow our community, and to bring our community together. With that being said, let's get started. Who's ready? All right. First question I have for the panel is, as Tony had mentioned earlier, Columbus is the third in the nation for volume of designers behind New York and LA, which I believe is partly due to the number of retail headquarters here in Columbus. So that being said, we have our fashion retail expert here, Kat DePiso, and I wanted to throw her this first question here. So with that stat of being third in the nation for volume of designers, how do you feel this makes Columbus impactful from a design and fashion perspective?
Well, can you guys hear me? I'm extremely proud of that stat, hence why I cheer for it. I think I cheer every time anyone says it. I've worked in this industry for 20 plus years. I've worked for most of the big box retailers in town and really fortunate to stay here in this amazing town. I have traveled the world and been fortunate enough to work with amazing people worldwide, but I cannot tell you how great this town is and the people here and the talent here. It is bar none of anywhere I've ever been. And what a unique, untapped thing that we have going here, right? And we've had a lot of opportunity in this town with great designers and other fashion and retail positions and categories and so much more. And what I'm passionate most about now is making sure everybody knows, the great talent that's here, but also creating more opportunities so we keep it here as retail's evolving constantly. I mean, you all are seeing it out there right now. I mean, retail is never a dull moment, right? So it's always a crazy game, but how do we keep that industry going in this town and create more opportunity for the people that we have here? Because truly, the talent is bar none than what's out there. So hopefully that answers.
I think it does. Melanie?
Yeah, I was just to add to that really quickly. I think one of the things I think is really important to me that Kat sort of started to touch on is the fact that the large retail industry here in Columbus, of course, it is a huge economic driver. It provides great jobs, but it also really helps spark the ongoing sort of entrepreneurship and vision and innovation within fashion, because this is a place where young designers, graduates from CCAD and other places, can stay, get a great job, really sort of, learn the ropes, get some, sort of practice their skill, and maybe they stay there forever and have an amazing career, but also maybe that gives them the connections, the mentorship, the skill to be able to then go out and launch their own, entrepreneurial sort of shop, fashion line, et cetera. So I think it's important to kind of recognize that it's really, it's sort of the big industry and the kind of more smaller entrepreneur industry that are sort of fulfilling each other. It's a virtuous circle, I think, here in the city.
Melanie, we had lunch the other day and we talked about this. Melanie and I did.
Kat's daughter is now at CCAD.
Oh, she just moved out. It was a mess. But it's such an amazing school. And I mean, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of, this experience that she's getting at. And she's in animation. What a wonderful experience. I also went to Ohio State, had an amazing experience there. We have such great schools here. And then, we have these great big companies, of course, but to Melanie's point and to the work that I think the three of us, all four of us, and many of you in the room do here are things like, I'm part of the Columbus Fashion Alliance. And, with the Fashion Week that's coming up and all the great designers that you guys bring to the table, all the teaching that is done to cultivate this talent in this town, we got to start working now together to make sure that there are other ways and avenues to bring the talent to life and have opportunities that are more than just one, right? And I think it's happening. And there's a lot happening right now out in the industry in this town that is going to change the trajectory in the next 3 to 5 years for sure.
So Kat, what you're saying is in 3 to 5 years, we'll be number 2 in the nation, number 1 in the nation.
Oh, you
right?
know it.
Okay.
You know it.
Okay.
I'm counting on it. When that happens, I'll do cartwheels. How about that? Okay.
You heard it. You heard it here, you guys. It's on
Don't tempt
tape.
me.
All right. Our next question is a hot question and one I'm sure everyone has, either been involved with or have heard about, but sustainability, really, really big priority globally, not even just nationally. And it's also a big priority in fashion. So sustainability being a hot topic in the fashion industry, I'm going to throw this one to Lubna to start with. Her and actually did a sustainability panel last November, and it was amazing. So she is a powerhouse there. But my question for you, Lubna, is how do you feel Columbus is doing its part to help the cause of sustainability from a fashion perspective? And what steps can everyday consumers take to aid in sustainability efforts?
It's a great question. So my background in the industry is very non-traditional. I didn't go to design school. I know everybody hates to hear that because I have a successful business in the industry, but there is a pathway forward for somebody who didn't go to fashion school, didn't go to business school. There is a pathway forward because of the creativity that everybody has. In order to answer that question, I want to address the first one. That metric, number 3 in fashion designers, was actually in 2012. So that was a while ago, pre-COVID, pre-thousands of layoffs by the corporations in our city, pre-everybody leaving the community to live in cities they prefer to live in, if you will, to keep designing for these bigger corporations, which is all part of our, it's our part of our economics, right? Economics drives our entire community. And what we do at the Columbus Fashion Council is we've taken exactly what Dr. Korn said. It's the designers, the entrepreneurs, and we've essentially positioned them by way of support of not just private companies in our community, but the city of Columbus and the county commissioners with not just their presence and support, but with their monetary dollars to help support these programs, to say to a creative, it doesn't matter where you come from or what your educational background is, Columbus truly is, as the mayor dubs it, an opportunity city. It's a city for small business. It's a city to explore your talent and to actually say, well, can I do something with this idea while I'm balancing my full-time job? I've been in the industry now almost 15 years, but my first 5 years I balanced working in investor relations at Huntington, right? I had to balance both of those things before I started my design business and my agency, and then was able to give back to the Columbus Fashion Council. So there's a lot of there's real stories of real success within our community for people who, the 2012, I'd love for somebody to pay for another study to see if we truly are still number 3, because to be impactful, we have to be realistic about what we're really doing here. And, maybe people have left, maybe people have come here, right? But we at the council are working with so many of these designers to say, well, don't leave, stay here. Here's an opportunity with the Common Thread Shops on 3rd, for example. We worked with CDDC, the Downtown Development Corporation, last year to develop an entire fashion and retail district within our community. And it's truly a proof of concept for future marketplaces and future first floor retail within our community. And Angie Black and Megan Hurley are here in the room. We work very closely on that program, and it's an extremely exciting time. But to the point about sustainability is extremely important. All of that history matters because now Columbus is looked at as a leader of this entire thing, right? Outside of the city. Are you guys familiar with the CFDA, the Council of Fashion Designers of America? Are you familiar with them? Have you ever heard the CFDA awards with all the celebrities that get all those really cool awards? Okay, that's the CFDA. So Columbus Fashion Council is a member of that. And by way of our relationship, we are now one of 13 cities across the country that is now looked at as an industry leader, if you will. We're looked at as a best practice city when it comes to the industry. And so where sustainability lives in that conversation is now we're looked at to say, well, what is best practice? You have all these designers, you have all these creatives you've now helped build their businesses, and retail stores you've helped build. What is the sustainability conversation? How are you advocating for things that matter? When you're teaching people, you have a responsibility to what you're teaching them, right? When you're providing resources through a nonprofit to, say, 400 members, which is give or take what we have within the council, you have a responsibility to educate them the right way, to give them the resources that are actually going to drive them and propel them forward versus just saying, well, we're just doing it, right? And so the sustainability conversation means a lot of different things. The Lane Bryant conversation we had last year that you referenced, we talked about, the sustainability and like on the maker side of the product. What does it mean for the textile itself, for the supply chain itself? What does that mean? Or the sustainability conversation on the back end with the consumer. How long are you going to keep this product in your closet, right? What is the life cycle of this good? All of these things play into sustainability. Within the Columbus Fashion Council, we've actually created a new workshop that talks about sustainability. What are the ways that you can incorporate that into your business, not just as a marketing tool, because everyone's talking sustainability, but in a way that actually really matters. This year's our first year with a fur-free runway, and we worked with the Humane Society of the United States to officially have the first fur-free runway in the United States. So that's happening at Fashion Week Columbus. And the interesting about that, I'm getting to my last point. The interesting thing about that is Columbus, because it's the first city, we've been asked to advocate with City Council and the Mayor's office to pass an ordinance within our community to become a fur-free city. And that doesn't mean don't wear your furs. That doesn't mean throw away all your furs. We're just saying, let's try to hurt less animals in the world. There's 100 million animals that are, used for production of fur around the world. And 90% of that is created in China where there's zero regulation. And so why does that matter? It matters because we're shopping hundreds of millions and billions of dollars for fashion. Fashion isn't just fun and it's not just luxury. It matters. It's people's jobs, it's people's homes, it's animals, it's the environment, it's, chemical-free dyes for synthetic leathers. It's all of this stuff that matters, right? So why Columbus? Why sustainability? Why are we now looked at as this city that's saying, well, if Columbus does it, everybody else will do it? Of those 13 cities I referenced earlier with the CFDA, we're now the first one to do for a free runway. We're also the first one that's going to be having a city hall hearing with the city council members next Tuesday. It's actually an open hearing to talk about our fur-free ordinance that we're trying to push. And because we did it, now Chicago wants to do it, DC wants to do it, and Miami is following suit. So it matters what we're doing here. People are watching, people are learning, and it's not just because of our retail corporations and because of our schools and our talent. It's because we're having these conversations, and we're having people that are actually interested in these conversations, because fashion isn't just shopping and fun, it's business, it's people, and it's lifestyle. So it's a big answer, but I wanted to answer the first question too, because I didn't get to.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. Doug did tell me to sing, by the way.
Oh,
Doug
I thought
asked me
it-
to sing all my answers, and I said no.
I thought it was dancing.
I think I volunteered.
That was
for
Kat.
Oh,
Kat.
that's right. Okay.
Wait for it,
Singing and
guys.
dancing later. Get ready.
I will promise to keep this very, very quick, but just really quickly on the sustainability note, I just want to also say, if this is a topic that's of real interest to any of you in the audience, CCAD is actually hosting a talk on sustainability in fashion. It's on October 4th. It's on campus. It is free and open to the public in the evening. 5 o'clock is when it starts, and it is with Shamini Dana. And then there will be a screening of her documentary called True Cost. I'm looking over at my table like, yes, that's right. Yeah. So join us on October 4th to learn more about this important issue.
Okay, so that note you guys took earlier about Fashion Week, Columbus.org, I will buy tickets or else, also put down CCAD October 4th, just making sure. Okay. All right. Melanie, this next one's for you. This is a fun question. I'm actually kind of excited about this one. So, we've all watched these fashion TV reality shows, right? Like Project Runway, a lot of fun shows out there. They've been smash hits. What is the creative process we see? Is it true to life? And how much of the drama that they show is actually real?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, to me, I would say the first answer is it is as real as all reality television is. It is as WWE is wrestling. It is, I think there are certainly elements of it that are real. And, of course, Project Runway started, gosh, I don't know, 20 years ago now, probably. And it started, at a fashion school with a real fashion instructor. We all know Tim Gunn from Project Runway, but he was a teacher of fashion, a design at a college like CCAD. And so yes, there are certainly elements of it that are real. I think, what is most real about it, I think, is the fact that you have people who are incredibly creative and talented, that there is incredible skill and craft that goes into that work. Yes, there's a lot of pressure and deadlines. They may not be, 48 hours, design your runway collection, but there are, real deadlines. And I think that one of the things, and again, everyone has their own path, so I don't mean this critical to anyone who didn't go to design school, but I think one of the things that we really focus on in design school is, of course, giving you those opportunities to express your creative passion, but to also give you those skills, not just for the sewing and the pattern making and the illustration and all of that, but the time management, the project management, the communication skills, the business skills. This is an important part of sort of what is there. And you get maybe a little bits of that through Project Runway. But you don't necessarily get the whole picture of what, it looks like on the sort of long road of a full degree sort of in fashion for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie. I actually want to tag another question onto that. So for those who are exploring a career in fashion or design, what's your advice to get started?
Well, we have a lot of great opportunities around the city, and I'll speak really quickly and then throw it to Kat and others, because I feel like, we've got, all of us up here have a whole list of opportunities for people. So I think, at CCAD, you can take classes as a non-degree student. So there are always opportunities there. We do other kinds of professional workshops and things. So, come to CCAD and check out what we're doing and talk to us about how to kind of get involved in that way. But I also know that we have a lot of resources here in the city who really focus on providing opportunities for skill development, also for not just the sewing skill and the pattern making skill and the design skill, but the business skills as well. So I would turn it over to you to pass that on down the line.
I mean, it's a great question, because I think, how many people in this room maybe at one point thought, I want to be in fashion? Anyone? Yeah, some? Yeah. I mean, at some point, I would draw and paste. I was really not great at all of those things, to be honest. So the fact that I went into the industry was so funny. But I like glue and tape and make doll clothes, and my mom would get mad. But I went into business, right? I was like, that's what I have to do. My mom's an attorney and a CPA. My dad was in business. And so but I loved the industry. I loved it. I loved clothes and all of that. And I tell that story because I started at OSU in business, and I found at the very last page there was a book. Then there was, this is like analog. At the very last, section was textiles and clothing product development and their fashion program. So I switched. I took a leap. I had no idea what it entailed to be in the industry. Forget just design, right? Like merchandising, sourcing, marketing. I didn't understand anything about it. And yet there's all these amazing opportunities and companies and things here happening in this town. And so I think it's a responsibility and that many of us are taking on at this time in our careers to give back, to create opportunity and awareness for those at an earlier age so they can really explore their true gifts and their talents. So, I just mentioned I'm a member of the board of the Columbus Fashion Alliance. We have you got to check it out. We have amazing programs that are happening. So many, and Yogi is our fearless leader, and he could rap about this all day. But I will tell you, we have programs like My Brother's Keeper and Future of Fashion, where it actually takes kids out of high school, and oftentimes that may not have the opportunity or the privilege to be able to go to a fancy school to get a nice, great art degree or whatever it may be, right? And so, you know, I had the pleasure, we had the pleasure at Justice at our offices of hosting the Future of Fashion this summer again, and these students are able to do an entire process, soup to nuts, from design, their sourcing, marketing, merchandising. They even have a pop-up that they do and just recently did, and they were on the news for, right? Amazing experience. The kids that did last year's program are now in college, and many have come back to me, and I've met with them. They've started their own brands. They've jumped into the industry. They got jobs. They got internships. So it's one of many. And I also think there are great schools like CCAD, like Ohio State, with many programs that you can get involved without all the way going, right? And explore. So there's so many avenues that are more here today than there ever was before, which I think we're all passionate about.
Yeah, I agree completely. I remember 14 years ago, prior to Fashion Council and Fashion Week, conversation about fashion was other than CCAD, other than the retail merchandising program at Ohio State, which also was not what it is today. And so fashion is a conversation because people did exactly that, right? They asked a question. And so to your question, how do you get started? Ask a question. If you're ignored, or your email is ignored, or somebody doesn't answer your call somebody else or call them again. I mean, honestly, and I think so many people just think that there's such a really high barrier to entry within the industry, and maybe it is in the larger markets, but not in Columbus. Columbus, because all of these organizations in this panel are nonprofit organizations, right? Not Justice Lab, but CFA, CFC, they're nonprofit organizations. The reason they exist is to service the community and to answer the questions and to be a resource to people that are just interested. Having been involved in it for so many years now in the city, I have personally seen it evolve, not just on the organization side, but on the personal side. More people are comfortable saying, well, this is just my side gig, right? Like, I do this for fun. I was at a TV interview this morning across the street at Spectrum. I was telling a couple people about it, and the news anchor that I was talking to after the interview said, I used to be a jewelry designer, and I feel like, is this a thing? Like, should I do it? And I said, well, we host a monthly pop-up at the Common Thread Shops on 3rd. You should totally create your collection and give us a chance to host you. Why not? You're a news anchor in the city, in our community. Everybody knows you as that, but who says you can't? So my biggest thing is just do it. Call someone, walk into a CCAD office, go to Ohio State, and honestly ask. And if you don't know what area you want to get into, just ask the question. There's a special person in the room. I'm looking at her now. Am I allowed to say her name? Yes, Brooke? Okay, I already said it. There's a young lady in the room that I met when she was in high school. How old were you? 16? 15? Okay. So I'm not going to say how old you are now, but I met her when she was 15, and she used to come to Fashion Week events with her mother. And she just pulled me aside after one of the fashion shows or one of the fashion like workshops or something. And she said, I'm really interested in learning a little bit more. And I mostly communicated with her mom at the time because she was a young teen and maybe didn't know how to really say what she wanted to say. But she said, I want to get into fashion. I don't know what it is. Where do I start? And I had gone to Kent State. I also did the business route with an MBA and all that, but I didn't go to Kent State for fashion, but I know they have an amazing program. And I said, and her mom wanted real advice on where to go to school and how to do that. And I said, explore our current universities that are here, because she's not actually from Columbus. And I said, explore all the schools. We have it right here in Ohio. And there's opportunities, there's pathways to career with all of these universities. And so she did that. She went to Kent State. She started a brand. She moved to LA, worked in a showroom for 5 years, and now she owns her own label, and she's opening her first direct-to-consumer retail store with us at the
Can
Common
we
Thread
give
later
her a
this
round
month.
of applause? That's amazing.
Tell me that's not a real story of somebody who just asked a question. I mean, that's literally all of Columbus, whether it's through the fashion programs over at CFA, which are amazing and they're really pushing forward education in our community, or it's just somebody who is just fearless enough to say, hey, what is this? Where do I go? What do I do? She didn't know she wanted to be a designer. She didn't know, but she ended up here. And now we have all these amazing programs that are helping push her brand forward. So there's a lot of winning stories. How do you get started? Ask a question. I won't ignore you, so you can email me.
I love that there is a real life success story here because that is just proof in the pudding that, to Lubna's point, asking a question can get you so far. And if any of you or anyone you know wants to get into the field, start with these three wonderful women up here. They can guide you to the right person. They can help you personally. Start with these three amazing resources. All right. So we will move to questions from our live stream and in-person audiences in just a few minutes. So if you have a question for any of our panelists, make your way over to the microphone now. And if by chance you're watching online, please type your questions into the chat. But before we take audience questions, I have one final thing for our panelists. This is actually going to be pretty fun. So get ready, guys. Buckle up. All right. Yes, we're singing and dancing. 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay. This is what I like to call a lightning round, where we're going to ask a bunch of really fun questions, and you guys are just going to go down the line and answer them. You ready?
Language.
Oh, well,
So English
in
is
that
my second
case.
language. I need a minute.
Okay. Melanie, we'll start with you. What is your shopping weakness? So something that you can't stop buying, even if you don't need it.
Oh man, my spouse is here and he'd probably have a lot of answers, but I'm gonna say shoes.
Kat?
Black blazers and white collared shirts, button downs. I don't know what it is about them.
Anybody who knows me knows it's handbags.
I love that. Okay, next question. Complete the sentence. Fashion is blank.
Fashion is art.
It's good. Fashion is a organism, a living, breathing, moving,
Ooh.
changing organism.
I love that.
I believe fashion is a lifestyle.
Love that. Okay. What is one thing in your closet that you absolutely cannot live without?
Really good pair of blue jeans.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I got a Levi's Biggie denim jacket. I worked at the Levi's floor for many years when I was like in my teens, and yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was studded in the back, and Levi, it's a rare, whatever, a farmer traded it to me when I worked there for a different pair of jeans that I bought him with my discount. That jacket is actually worth something now, and I gotta say, if anyone touches it, either of my daughters, I'm like, don't you go near it. Yeah. I think that's my favorite.
I love it.
What was the question again?
What is one thing in your closet you cannot live without?
Cannot live without. Probably like really great activewear, because outside of all the fashion events and things I'm always at, I'm always in some activewear.
Love that. Okay, last one. What would your runway song be?
That's impossible.
I got one.
Okay, go.
Eye of the Tiger.
Good one.
Doesn't that make you want to go running, but also
Good
like
one.
runway? I don't know.
I mean, I'm somewhere between like Aretha Franklin and like Tupac, maybe. I mean, like I got so many in here. I'm married to musicians. So you got to know there's like, I could go so many routes on this. Yeah.
Wait, Kat, is not OAR?
Sorry. It's not, honey. Sorry.
Oh yeah. This is a terrible. I'm gonna fail. I love a good mixtape and a good playlist. So this is terrible. I'm struggling with this, but it's just got to have a good beat. I just don't want like angry slow music for my runway. Although I love it when I'm like in my car and I can sing along, but I want, good bass.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. All right. So it is CMC's longstanding tradition to take audience questions. So Mantra Moody with CMC will be curating questions from our live stream audience. For those of you with us in person, please join Mantra at the microphone. And out of respect for others, just make sure that you're keeping your questions really succinct and short. so we can get to as many as possible. And then also, are we ready? Yeah, let's go for it. First question.
All right, thank you. First question is, fashion often plays a role in shaping cultural perceptions of beauty. How can the fashion industry in Central Ohio work towards greater inclusivity in representing diverse beauty standards?
Love this one. I'm gonna jump in if you guys don't mind. So I lead the brand Justice, right? And our mission is around empowering girls to feel their best self. Every girl, every day, no matter who she is. That mission is not taken lightly. That's extremely important, and how that's brought to life. Beth here is our VP of marketing. She is a brilliant genius of making sure that we show girls of all shapes, sizes, colors, in making sure that we're truly representing every girl so she can see herself in Justice when she sees that. That was a shift that we made as a brand a while back, probably not early enough, but we made an intentional move long ago, years ago, and we stick to it. I've worked for a lot of other brands and I've seen a lot of brands who do it well and some who don't do it so well, or some who pretend to do it. It's a complicated thing, but it's got to be intentional, thoughtful, and genuine. And it's not a one-stop shop. You never stop. You consistently continue to make sure it's a part of your mission. So we're very passionate about it.
I would quickly add to that and just say, fashion is a personal choice. So if you see a brand that doesn't align with your image or maybe your philosophy and how you live, you don't have to shop it, right? But I think that culture and fashion is they're literally like best friends. They're married forever. It's a commitment without divorce, right? It really is. Fashion is your personal choice. You can choose a brand or you can not choose a brand. By choosing a brand, you're spending money with them, which ultimately means you are giving them money to continue to do what they're doing. A brand like Justice, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I actually remember that super shift because my kids were younger then. But ultimately, fashion is a choice. So if you don't align with a brand's mission statement, if you will, or even just their image, just don't shop them. It's the best way to show them you don't support what they're doing, right? Yeah. And, with Fashion Week, we've seen so many amazing designers come through. One of our events of the week, it's on the Tuesday of Fashion Week. It's called Passport to Fashion. And it's called Passport because we bring international brands into Fashion Week. And so what's really cool about that is you'll see these amazing saris going down the runway. And you see these really just different cultural pieces that are represented in Columbus, the cultures that are represented here. So fashion is a choice. You buy what you believe in. And as a designer, if you are creating something that you want people to shop, it's your choice whether you want to include everybody or not, but the way of the world is we are all becoming one. And if you don't get on that train, your pockets will hurt because people won't shop you. So.
Yeah, and I would say that I think that also can start with the educational systems as well. I mean, I used to work at a different art and design college, and for many years, the fashion program, the senior collections had to be women's wear, and all the models in the show were, sort of the typical models. And I was really excited when I got here to CCAD and saw that our fashion program was much more expansive in the students being able to design, for whomever they wanted, kind of what they wanted, reflecting their own diverse backgrounds. And we always have, senior collections every year who are exploring issues around, gender identity, around, again, different cultural backgrounds. And our models, in fact, are CCAD students who come in all shapes and sizes. And so it's really amazing to see a super professional, New York style runway show with, sort of wide variety of student work and people walking the runway. So come to that also, write that down. It's in May.
Add that to the list. Thank you guys. That was an amazing question. Next question.
I'm Carol McGuire. Thank you all for being here. It's been an interesting conversation. Fast fashion has been a movement for a while, and two stores that I can think of, Zara's and Uniqlo, come to mind. It has created a bit of a dilemma and a problem as far as the disposal of clothing. My understanding is that clothing constitutes the #1 landfill items that, are populating landfills in enormous numbers. What do you all see as the responsibility for the industry in trying to mitigate or abate some of that issue?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. And it speaks to your sustainability question. The life cycle of that product is very short, which is why it's in the trash, right? It's very cheap. Like we won't name the brand names, but they're quick to your front door. They're 2-day shipping. They are most likely, I hate to say, but flammable more often than not. And so those are, there is a fear, right? And a lot of times it's an affordability piece, right? Let's be realistic. Not everybody can afford a $120 pair of sustainable denim that's made with organic cotton. Nobody can, a lot of people can't afford that. And that's the reality, right? Again, back to the choice piece. The responsibility is 1000% ours as being industry experts, if you will, to talk about why that matters. If we're helping brands grow, if we're educating students, if we are training young people to get into the industry, they need to understand where their textile is coming from, where that fiber came from, how much water it took to make that product, what the dye that was used, how much shipping and freight was coming from whatever international country it came from, right? All of those things matter. And it's really, to my understanding, and Dr. Korn will have a lot to say about this, it's education. They need to understand the global impact. We all do, companies that currently exist and companies that will exist in the future. There has to be a movement, and we can't do it all together at the same time, but we can do it one by one, and we can continue to talk about the impact and how we're saving, why this brand is saving 37% more water than this one, and why that water matters, right? Because maybe it's created in a country that is struggling for clean water, but you're using that water for a product that's going to be thrown away, so these things matter, and you don't want to scare people, but you have to educate them. So I think we have a huge responsibility, and it starts with education.
I totally agree. I think, in terms of, again, educating our designers and everyone else in the fashion retail industry, making sure that we understand those issues. But also I think in terms of educating the consumer, yes, there are certainly plenty of folks who can't afford the $50 t-shirt and, they're going to buy a $5 t-shirt. But I think it is within our industry to be able to say, we are going to include on that $5 price tag the actual true cost of that garment in terms of the environmental impact and everything else. And so for those of us who can, rather than buying 10 different $5 t-shirts because we are told to consume, and we like to buy things, instead just buy the $150 t-shirt. And maybe we would be more compelled to do that if right there on that price tag, we saw, oh, wow, yeah, it's costing me $5, but it's costing the earth, $120. And that might make an impact. Thank you, Carol, also for sponsoring this panel today. Really appreciate it.
All right, next question.
All right. This question is from Noah Brown, and I think you talked a little bit about it, but he wants to specifically know, what is one thing that you believe could help a college student get into the industry, especially starting right now with Fashion Week coming up?
I can answer that, having hired actually a lot of students coming out of Melanie's school. So I found the most helpful thing, if you don't have the access to all the great fancy razzle dazzle things, not everybody does, right? That's a big part of why we started the Columbus Fashion Alliance. But I worked in retail. I got anything I could on my resume. I flipped the express stores at midnight and took that terrible shift just to redo the floor. I even worked at a hardware store for 2 years because it was the first place I could get my retail foot in the door. I did backstock rooms, I did sales, and whatever it was, I learned everything that I could, and I stacked that resume because I didn't have a intense art degree. I had a great textiles and clothing product development degree, but I was up against people from Paris and London. I mean, the gamut, right? And that was true when I started at Abercrombie. But it was the experience, the education, the tenacity that I had showed that I could. And then you know what it did for me as I got later in my career? Not only did it get me in the door for the interview and the conversation, but it later in life taught me that I knew how it was put on the floor. I knew what it meant to stock a back room. I knew the time it took. I knew what people went through when they were having to, sell something, and the complexity of the visuals on the floor. All these things that go into running stores, that going into selling products, making great products that last. It built my background so that I was really well-rounded and armed and dangerous. So get the experiences, put them down no matter what they are. I don't care if I only did a couple of those floor sets. That was on my resume, to get me to the next.
I'd love to add to that really quick, because the last part of his question, thank you, Noah, for that, is on the heels of Fashion Week. A lot of our events are free. So if you're down the street at Ohio State or down the street at CCAD, we actually give a $5,000 scholarship to a CCAD student as part of our mission with Fashion Council. So if you're at CCAD, we have one of our events is actually at your school on Thursday, Philanthropy Meets Fashion, where you get to meet Project Runway All-Star Prajay Oscar. And so he's our headliner this year. So a great free way, and Suzanne is in the room somewhere, a great free way to get engaged with the fashion community locally is on the heels of Fashion Week, come to the free events. There are also student tickets to a lot of our events as well. So fashionweekcolumbus.org, we're a nonprofit. So I will push it as long as I can to help these designers get to where they need to go. But as a student with potentially a small budget, come to the free events and learn from the people that we bring to the table. We pay to have these people here, so come and learn from them for free.
Okay, we have about 3 minutes left, and we have time for 2 quick questions. So,
Renee Delaney from Women Who Dare. Here's the scenario. Each of you has to design a runway for men or those who identify as men. Who would you choose to be the men that you would like? And please pick Timothée Chalamet as one of them.
Oh my God. Wait, is this supposed to be like a fun question? Like, is this fun? Because I don't want to say the wrong man and have my husband mad at me.
That's a very loaded, so many. It's definitely not my husband for the runway. I'm sorry, I love you, honey, but that's not it. Like, I'm going fabulous and something really over the top. And there's two, actually I know exactly who I would design it for. They're not here, but they live in this town, Tony and Brian Foss, and they're fabulous hair designer and garden architect extraordinaire. That's who I'm designing for. They would be amazing. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's hard.
Go for it, Lubna.
I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm just going to say my husband. I'm just kidding.
Timothée Chalamet. Playing it safe.
I would probably design for Barack Obama.
Oh,
He just has a swagger about him, right? I mean, yes, he was in the great position he was in at one point, but he's also just an exceptional person. I would love to bring him to Columbus. So if you're watching President Obama, we welcome you wherever the live stream camera is to Columbus so that we can dress you. And Michelle, her too.
Bring Michelle.
Yeah.
Hi there. My name's Kimberly Kershaw. I'm here with the PVF Professional Volleyball Federation with my colleague Jessica McComb, who is with the team that will be launching here in February. We are about to bring the world's best volleyball athletes to Columbus. These are Olympic athletes, national team, NCAA champions. And for instance, each franchise can have 2 franchise players, and one of ours is Jenna Rosenthal, who's former national team, played at Marquette, pro for many years. You won't miss her, she's 6'6". My question is, as we bring these athletes to our community who are about to call Columbus their home, as experts on the panel, what would be the one organization or 2 that you would suggest for us to introduce them to as they come here and call Columbus home?
I will just quickly say that you should introduce them to all 3 of our organizations, of course, but also we have so many great arts and culture organizations here, the museum, Columbus Museum of Art, the Wexner Center, incredible, performing arts as well. I think there are so many things that I think part of it just depends on where their passions lie. Also, again, all of us are nonprofits or representing nonprofits also. And, therefore we have boards and we love to get sort of new community leaders involved and, reach out in that way. Really quickly, because I know we're at time, I want to just say because you sort of mentioned volleyball, one of the really awesome things that CCAD has a great chance to do as well is work with community organizations and corporations on sponsored projects and classes. And we've done a number of them in fashion. We just this year have 3 more coming up. We're doing a really cool sort of design competition with Lane Bryant. We're doing this amazing project designing sort of concept quinceañera dresses. And one of them is with the U.S. figure skating competition that's coming to Columbus in January. And one of our students is designing an actual, or maybe just graduated, designing one of the costumes for one of the U.S. Figure skaters. And then the whole class is doing sort of concept work. So also reach out, because we could do some really cool volleyball, uniform and other, kind of projects and stuff like that, and create some cool buzz around it.
I wanted to quickly add, Experience Columbus is in the room, and they also connected Columbus Fashion Council to the Sports Commission, who's bringing them, and we're doing a lot of stuff over the next few months with the Sports Commission and all of the figure skating group. So connect maybe to CMC, quick shameless plug to the Metropolitan Club, because they brought us together and they have these forums every week. So they're going to be bringing a bunch of different organizations together. So probably CMC, I would say. Right?
Amazing.
And then you can connect all of us.
So much. This was so amazing. All right. Well, I wish we had more time. I feel like we could talk about fashion all day long, but we are getting the wrap-up signal. So I'm going to turn this back over to the fabulous Tony for closing remarks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Maria. I mean, give her another round of applause for all that energy. Well, I hope everyone found today's forum ruching. For those of you who know how to sew, I'm not one of those. It's when you overlay strips of fabric and you pleat them and gather them, and it kind of creates this ripple like ruching. Yay. Okay. So yeah, and I also learned just ask. You buy what you believe in, and certainly when I knew I was going to be presiding over this forum, I was thinking about The Devil Wears Prada. And I was just, I was like, I was waiting for somebody to say the line, when Meryl Streep was saying, oh, but you didn't know that sweater, it's not just blue. It's not turquoise. It's not lapis. It's actually cerulean. So, I mean, this was more than cerulean for me. So I hope it was the same for each of you. And thank you so much to the Carol A. McGuire Legacy and Civic Engagements Fund, celebrating arts and culture, who is in the room. Thank you to our wonderful forum supporters, the Ellis Live and King Business Interiors. We also want to thank so much our virtual seat patrons, the Center for Human Kindness at the Columbus Foundation, the Columbus Dispatch for presenting today's live stream, and our very special appreciation to today's speakers, Dr. Melanie Korn of CCAD, Catherine DePizzo, Lubna Najjar, and our host, Maria Sigan. Man, this was spectacular. I'm going to do the replay. I'm glad we have this on YouTube. So please make plans to attend next week's forum, which is titled The State of the Workforce, Uncovering Ohio's Hidden Workforce, right here at the CMC, right here at the Ellis for the CMC. And also take a moment to answer the question, the very short survey that you'll find on our website, because we could not do this without you. Thank you for joining us, and have a really spectacular, ruching, and fashionable afternoon, everyone.